Thank you for joining me. If you're trying to figure out why are you seeing me right now, it's because I am Yolanda. I am Locating Cozy, and this is Abroad Chat. And today, I thought I would give some insight, and I wanted to talk about some of the must-ask questions if you are going to be interviewing a pet or homeowner to do a sit. Now, as most of you know, I do use Trusted House Sitters, and that has been a platform that has worked great for me as I do travel international. I'm an international pet sitter. And so, in order for me to decide if I want to actually go and stay at somebody's home, maybe, right across town, it might be in the same city, it might be in another city or in another state or country, you want to interview the prospective homeowner about what their specific needs are regarding a pet sit so that you can avoid as few surprises as possible when doing a pet sit, whether you're caring for an animal, their pet, their fur baby, whatever animal, or if you're just taking care of plants, or if there's nothing, you're just staying at the home. You do want to go ahead and ask a lot of questions when you do the initial video chat interview. Also, just in all fairness, I am going to be focused more on the pet sitting side since that's usually what I'm doing. But there are some questions that I do incorporate that might have nothing to do with pet sits when I'm actually considering taking on a client, so to speak, for a pet sit. Please do make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I have something pretty insightful or cool to share or talk about. Okay? All right. So, pet care routine. It's very important that you do ask the questions of what type of daily routine does the pet have? What time do they usually go for a walk? What time do they usually eat? Of course, are there any medications? Are there any particular ailments that should be of concern? There are some elderly pets that might have, or even some younger ones too, that might have, what do they call it, constitution issues. They might have bladder control issues or whatever. So you want to find out if that's something that needs to be addressed. I've definitely had one situation that I can think of right off the bat where the dog had some issues that they would go in the bathroom and pee, which I was very aware of. I didn't know that there was only one bathroom and that it was a major problem that I had to actually go and mop before, like when I got up in the morning, I had to go and get a bucket of water and bleach to clean up and then mop before I could even go to the restroom myself. That was an unpleasant surprise. The pets themselves were wonderful. It was just something that, even though I thought I had asked the correct information, it was still an issue that I was not even aware of until the pets had begun. So you want to get that type of information. Along with that, if they're telling you that, yes, sometimes, we put down the pee pads in the bathroom or whatever room, make sure that you're asking, like, is this like a path that I have to go through to go to the bathroom? I didn't know to ask that until afterwards. But yeah, very important that you understand their routines. Another thing to consider when you're looking at routines is if the pets have any kind of anxiety. I have seen some listings in the Trusted House Sitter platform where they're like, my dog can't be left alone for more than 30 minutes or more than an hour, at a time. And that's not something I do the pet sits because it does allow for free accommodations, but also I love taking care of the pets. I enjoy taking care of the pets. It's part of the joy of the journey for me. But if I'm in a new city and I'm not the type that I need to be gone for I don't need to be gone for, 24 hours or even 8 hours. But if I decide that during my visit into possibly a new city or country that I want to go on a tour or something like that, I don't want to be relegated to have to stay in the home for the entire time. For some people, that might be the perfect getaway for them. They're like, I just want to get away. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't mind just sitting still with some pets and cuddling up and just watching some movies for a week or so. That might be the perfect environment for some, but just be aware that and know what your expectations are. Okay. And it helps to avoid surprises, if maybe the pet doesn't want to go walking before they have their morning meal or vice versa. So just be aware of that. Number 2, make sure that you have all of the health and vet info. That should be, if you're going through Trusted House Sitters, that should be in the welcome guide. All of that information should be provided. If you are doing an independent contractor, or if you're on Rover, or if you have your own set of clients that you're trying to establish, make sure that you have all the detail regarding any health concerns that they have, and the emergency contact, and the vet. It is very important that you have who is going to take care of this homeowner or pet owner's care for their pet when they're out of town. Also, to make sure that they have the proper protocol in place for who's going to pay, because the last thing that I want to do is go take a pet that's sick to the vet, and they're like, okay, so the bill comes out to, $200. How are you going to pay? It's not my responsibility. So you want to make sure that the homeowner, pet owner, has a method of taking care of the pet should it be necessary. Okay, so very important. And of course, also having an emergency point of contact. If I'm reaching out to the homeowner and for whatever reason, they are not able to be contacted, it is very important that I also have an alternative point of contact for in case of emergencies. Okay, whether it is something regarding the pet or something regarding the home, I need to have it separate in case of emergency. 3, behavioral concerns. So I need to know if there are any kind of quirks. I need to know if there's any kind of, again, separation anxiety, if there's any aggression. I've definitely had my fair share of pets that I've cared for over the past 3 years that I think of one in particular where I was in California and the homeowner said, like my dog, it was oh yeah, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, a Weimaraner? Okay, anyways, she said something about, the dog will chase after the rabbits. And I was like, we're in Oceanside, California. What are you talking about? There's no rabbits. Yes, there are. Yeah, the dog snatched me up. Yeah, I felt like my elbow was giving me problems for a while after that. And then right after that sit in California, I was back in Texas. And there was another dog that was very aggressive towards other dogs and towards certain people. And yeah, that dog will get aggressive. So these are the things that you need to know so that you can address it based on your training and what you know about pets. Or if you will also know with that information, if this is not a sit that you should actually accept. Very important, because know that it's okay to say no to a sit. Not every sit is meant for you to do. Not every animal is meant for you to care for. Just because it's not a snake or a turtle or whatever doesn't mean that, I have to care for this. I have since those 2 experiences, I now no longer do pet sits for any dogs that have any kind of leash aggressiveness at all. I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Can't. My elbow was so messed up for quite some time after those 2 experiences, back-to-back experiences, that I said, no, I'm not going to do that again. Lesson learned. Okay. But yeah, make sure that like if the cats tends to hide. I've done pet sits where maybe there was like 3 cats. One cat came out and was like, hey friend, I'm here. I missed you. Another cat that it might take a couple of days to, get friendly with me. And then another cat that I didn't see the entire time that I was doing a pet sit, maybe for like 3 or 4 days. I didn't see the cat the entire time. So just knowing what to expect. So one, it helped with my concern, like I don't want your cat to get sick or get malnourished or anything like that. So understanding the behaviors, the personalities of said pets is very important. So you'll know what to expect and kind of have an idea if something is off a little bit. Understanding the house rules. Okay. are the rules that needs to be understood. One of the first pet sits that I did, one of the first pet sits that I did was in Thanksgiving 2022, and then they asked me to come back for Christmas, and I was visiting my family in Houston, so I came back, and I had some friends that wanted to come by and see me, and so I made sure I reached out to them because I wasn't expecting anybody to come while I was on the pet sit, but since I was in town, I did reach out to the owners and ask them, is it okay if I have a friend come over? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Some people don't want anybody else in their house, and which is totally understandable, completely understandable. But I've also heard one of my friends who is a pet sitter and also she's a pet sitter and also has, had pet sitters in her home. She had a gentleman that was at her house, and he had asked if it was okay if somebody comes over, and come to find out the person had stayed at the house the entire time. And so that was not acceptable. So yes, what the guest policy is, understand what the guest policy is, understand that, if there's no smoking in the house, or some people don't want you smoking like on their property at all. They're like, I don't care if, you're smoking like, I don't know, 25 feet away. I don't want you smoking on my property. You need to respect that. I have had some people that, I didn't actually sit for them. No, yeah. That was vegetarian. I had a young lady who was vegetarian, and she specified that you will get specific preference if you are also vegetarian. And I remember one time I applied for a pet sit where somebody said they were vegetarian. I'm like, I will gladly respect that. I'm not going to be eating meat in your house, which I don't usually cook if it's some kind of short sit anyways. I'm going out to eat. But you want to be aware that you're not disrespecting that person's home by doing something that they are adamantly against. Another thing which I've brought up before is don't go into rooms that are off limits. Part of the house rules. If you go into somebody's room and they're like, hey, this is a 4-bedroom house, please only relegate your time to these 2 bedrooms and this bathroom, and then you go into their bedroom, and, it could be that they have like their own little security cameras in that room. You can't get mad at them. They said don't go in the room. Okay? So yes, please do remember things like that and make sure that you are respecting the house rules when you are doing any kind of pet sit. The homeowners, I don't usually have to ask about those type of rules. There might be some appliances that they're like, please don't touch this, or they might be, please don't, use this appliance, it's kind of tricky, or please don't eat the groceries that are here. Like maybe they're like, you can enjoy the mayonnaise that's in the fridge or whatever. Or they might be, can you please just bring your own things? We really don't want you touching our stuff. I've only had that happen one time, and it was very awkward. Of the over 40 sits that I have done so far, I've only had one person that said, can you please replenish the food that you use? And quite frankly, there was nothing in that person's fridge that I really wanted to touch anyways. So, but making sure that you're respecting whatever their house rules are. And if the house rules are something that you don't feel like you can abide by, respectfully decline. Okay? So yes, it's okay again to decline and say, that's just outside of my expectation for caring for your home or your pet while I'm here, while you're out of town. And so this helps prevent some clear boundaries from being misunderstood. Okay? Please, whatever you do, don't be like, they won't know. They may not know if you do something that they have clearly outlined and requested that you not do in their home. They may never know. But do you really want to set that kind of precedence for the type of service or the type of care that you're providing in someone else's home? I would hope not. I would hope not. Okay. So yes, make sure that you understand what the expectations are for the house rules. Home maintenance. So under this category, I would say this is like understanding, again, what the expectations are around the house. Again, if you are using Trusted House Sitters, that welcome guide should have that detailed. If it's not detailed, again, whenever I do the actual video chat initial interview before accepting a pet sit to begin with, I do ask questions like, do you have any plants that need to be taken care of? Okay. What about your mail? Some people have mail that gets delivered right to their door. Some people have a mailbox that's right down the street. If they're going to be gone for a while, they might say to you, please go and check the mail every couple of days and bring everything in and just put it on the table. Some people might say, no, I just don't worry about it. I'll be back. I don't get enough mail. Don't worry about the mail at all. Perfect. I had one pet that whenever they had the slot, so whenever the mailman would come or the mail person would come, the dog would lose his mind and try to tear up the mail. So I had to hurry up and pick it up before, it got too bad. So yeah, so that's something to consider. Garden care, if you need to take out the trash, anything like that, these are questions that you need to ask. If it's not on the like if you're using Trusted House Sitters and it's not on the welcome guide, these are things that you need to ask. A lot of times in the Trusted House Sitters welcome guide, it'll say like trash service, and sometimes people don't put anything there, and that's your cue to be like, oh, there's no information here. Let's go ahead and reach out. I kind of make a little list of questions that I think are important that maybe I didn't ask during the initial interview and that maybe was not on the welcome guide. I will reach out to the customer after I've made a list of things and been like, hey, these are things that maybe I forgot to ask you and I did not see it on the welcome guide. Make sure, if you're not using one of the platforms like Rover or Trusted House Sitters, that if you are doing your own independent contract for pet sitting, that you request a welcome guide. And I don't have one right now that I can like maybe suggest, but if nothing else, go into ChatGPT and just create a list of questions that I need to ask the prospective homeowner about while I take care of their home for like said 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It might look different for a shorter pet sit versus a longer pet sit of the things that you need to do to maintain the home. You also need to know, like, if it is a home, if there's a garden, like lawn care that happens, or if there's a cleaning person that comes into the home. I've had both of those situations. Some homeowners will just cancel the cleaning person or the lawn care person from coming while they're gone for a week or so or for a certain amount of time. And sometimes they're like, no, they're still going to come every week or whatever. So these are things that you need to ask about and understand what that schedule looks like. If you need to be home or if they're going to leave money for you to give to the lawn person or to the housekeeper to pay them, that might be a situation that needs to be addressed also. So sometimes you might have a housekeeper or a lawn person that comes and you're like, I need to be out of the house because I need to get out of the housekeeper's way. So yeah, make sure that that's understood. Do you need to be at the residence or do you need to be out of the residence for a little while so they can do the proper cleaning or whatever that needs to be done? Okay. Security and keys. Yes. Very important that you do ask, how many sets of keys will you have? What do they give you access to? It might just be a one key does everything, or maybe it's a code that you have to put in to enter or lock the door every time. So these are things that you need to know about. You need to know if there's again, special key where you have to go to get the mail. If there is a special key to get into a certain gate, or if you're in a condo, if there's a special key to get to the gym or to a pool that's on the property. These are things that you want to ask about. You also want to understand if you get locked out, what do you need to do? Who might have an extra key? Some of you have seen some of my past videos. I had just gotten to Puerto Vallarta for a 1-month pet sit at the end of 2023. And she had a lockbox for me to get the key, and the lockbox would not open. And this lady was on her way to the Puerto Vallarta airport, and she would be gone for a month. And it was very scary. I handled it with as much grace as I could, but that was scary because I was like, I ain't never been to Mexico before. How am I going to get around? How am I going to figure this out? And the people that supposedly had the keys, like the maintenance person or the building manager, they were like at their pueblos and, they were out of town for the weekend. So I didn't know what to do. It was resolved, and maybe I'll put the video here somewhere so you can actually link to one of the craziest pet experiences that I've had as a pet sitter. Yeah, it's been interesting at times. But yes, it's important that you understand about the security. It's important that you know about the cameras. It is important that you know if there are cameras out, where all the cameras are. If they are inside or outside, you need to know. You need to know if the cameras are inside, where they are, and that they have been disconnected during your stay. Because when I am staying at your home, I am very comfortable. So I don't think that you want to see me being comfortable in your home. I'm living in your home during that time. So when I get out the shower, I'm walking around like I'm in my home. So you want to know that all the cameras are off or disconnected, and you want to know that what cameras are outside also. So, and if there's some place that you need to look, if you hear a bump in the night or you hear something, that if there's a place to look to see, like who's outside. Yeah. So these are just things that you want to consider when it comes down to, your security and the keys and how you're going to get in and out of your pet owner's home while you're taking care of their home or their pets. And especially like in Europe, where sometimes landlords, will charge, they might charge for a locksmith. So you might have to come out of pocket to cover the cost if you lose a key in maybe some parts of the EU. You never know. Good thing to ask, right? Right. Utilities and Wi-Fi. Okay. So you always want to ask and make sure that they provide you with the Wi-Fi information, because if you're doing some kind of long-term, any kind of pet sit where you're staying at somebody's place, you want to make sure that you have access. A lot of us work remote now. Okay. I work remote. I've been working remote since 2018. And so therefore I need to make sure that I have access to some good internet speeds. I don't need like the basic. And I ask them all the time, like, what is your internet speed? What does your internet access look like? Because I want to make sure, nothing is guaranteed, but I do want to make sure that I have the best connection possible so that I can be as productive as possible while I'm working, getting things done to help maintain my income. Okay. And also finding out if there's any quirks, any issues with the electricity, with the water, with heating. Case in point, I did a pet sit in Portugal around Christmas time last year, and I did not know that. I don't even know why I didn't think to ask about this, but yeah, the person told me that they had like space heaters, but I didn't realize that in Portugal and in some of the buildings, that the insulation was horrible. It was actually warmer outside than it was inside. Okay, so think about that. It's actually warmer inside it's actually warmer outside than it was inside. I was freezing, and the space heater was not doing anything at all. I mean, you had to have it right up on you, like almost damn near burning your skin, it seemed like, before you could feel any heat. I was so cold. I was angry cold because I felt like I couldn't be productive because I was just so cold in that apartment. The pets were wonderful. This was the same pets that actually had the consistent incontinence issue. I just realized I said consistency issue before. Anyways, it's incontinence issues that were peeing in the bathroom floor. But yeah, that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible to be that cold in an apartment and being warmer to go outside. Another issue that I've had recently, I was in Valencia and they told me about the water pressure. That water pressure was horrible. I am spoiled. I thank goodness for the water pressure in my flat here. And yeah, the water pressure was absolutely horrific. It was like just kind of trickling, and I'm just kind of like trying to get some water on me just enough so I can just clean myself. So these are things that you really need to ask and make sure you have clarity on that. I've done a pet sit before. The house was beautiful. I could not figure out where the garbage disposal was. Could not. I looked under the sink, over the sink. I didn't realize that these newfangled homes it was like just a push button. It wasn't a switch or anything. It was just a push button that you just pushed. So yes, how the dishwasher works. These are questions that you want to ask, because when the homeowner is out of town, it might be hard to reach them, and, just things to ask. It might seem like overkill to ask all the questions, but it's good. And the owners will appreciate it, because when you ask these questions, especially during the video chat interview, the initial video chat interview with the prospective pet owner, they will appreciate the knowledge that you have and the sense and the knowingness that you have to actually ask these questions. They will feel like, for the most part, they're usually like, wow, this person knows her stuff. She knows the very pertinent questions to ask, not just about where's the party at, where's the nearest bar at. They know to ask the really detailed questions to make sure that the sit is as positive as possible for the pet owner, for the pets, and for the pet sitter. So please don't think that all these questions, this is overkill. You're asking too many questions. If a pet owner gets upset about these type of questions, that is not the sit that you need. That is not the sit that you need to be doing, because I want to be as informed as possible. So just to be clear on that. Transportation. Yes, transportation. Since I have moved to Spain, I don't need a car. I don't need a car. I'm not going to do, for me, I'm not doing any pet sits in the countryside. I'm not going to do any pet sits in the hillside. I'm not going to do pet sits in some remote land. I don't need to do any off the grid. For some people, that works for them. That's not my mission. But I do need to know, how close is your metro? How close, do I have to walk, a long distance to, how's the Ubers or the taxis around here? But when I lived in the States, I had a car. I still had my car, and I was traveling mostly around when I was in Texas, between Austin, Dallas, and Houston. And so I would drive. I want to make sure that they have proper parking for my vehicle to be safe. I had a pet sit one time when I was in Dallas, where the owner was like, oh no, we don't have parking on our property. You have to park down the street. And I was almost going to accept that pet sit. And I was like, I like my car. I don't know about, if there's cars being broken into. And, this was, in the city of Dallas. And, I turned it down because I wanted my car to be right. I need to be able to see my car. I didn't want to take a chance on going out one night and coming back, and I have to park way down the street before I can, get back to the home. So yeah, asking about the transportation, asking about parking, asking about if you will be able to, some people will let you use their car if it's like, someplace that's not close to anything. And some people might let you use their car. I don't want to do a pet sit where I have to use their car. But some people, they have an agreement and understanding, you can use my car. So these are things to consider as far as transportation. Also, you want to consider, if you're going someplace, if you need to get a rental car. You need to know if you'll be able to take a cab, if it's feasible to take a cab to that location, maybe from the airport or from the train station or what have you. So it's very important that you ask questions about the transportation. For the most part, things like this, the homeowner should be very transparent about, just like they should be very transparent about the utilities and security and all. They should be very transparent about it in their welcome guide, but still, I still ask these questions just to make sure. So if it's not already on the form that I complete on my own, it should be in the welcome guide, but hopefully that's going to cover all the bases that we need to consider to make this as pleasant for all the parties involved. Understanding the duration of the sit. When I actually do the interviews, I literally ask the pet owners, when are you leaving? And not like what day, like what time are you leaving? I need to know if the pet owner is leaving in the afternoon, like about 4:00, then maybe I can arrive that morning. I can either, if I'm flying in, I like to be there the day before. But if I'm taking a bus up or train or driving from another city, I can arrive in the morning if they're leaving in that afternoon. If they are leaving early in the morning, then I want to make sure that I arrive the day before, because I want to make sure that I do a walkthrough and meet them in person before they leave. So I want to be in the house. I want to be introduced to the pets, introduced to their home, understanding if there's any specific plant care or anything like that needs to be done, even though they might have the welcome guide. I've done the interview, the video chat interview. I still want to do a walkthrough to really kind of get the vibe and check out what the responsibilities and needs are. So if they are leaving in the morning, I'm going to come the day before so I can do the walkthrough with them that evening before and make sure I have the keys and all that information and all that accesses before. But if they're leaving in the morning, or excuse me, in the afternoon, then maybe I can just come like maybe 10 o'clock in the morning and we can do the walkthrough, and then that's fine. And then I want to know, what time are they coming back? Very important that I know what time the homeowners are leaving, because I like to leave at least, I'll say about maybe 2 hours before they get back. Okay. And sometimes they'll be like, oh no, you can leave, like, as long as they're fed in the morning. Like if they're coming back at 2 in the afternoon, they're like, you can leave in the morning. That's fine. Just make sure that you walk the dog if necessary. Do whatever to make sure that everything is good before you leave. But you can leave at like 8 or 9 in the morning, even though we may not be coming back until 2 or 3. In those cases, I also like to know that in case of emergency contact is someone that is accessible, because say that they're leaving or they're arriving back at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they're telling you can leave at 9 a.m. No problem. I do want to know that in case there's a delay in a flight or something happens where they can't get back in time, that they do have access for someone, friend, family that will be coming, neighbor that will be coming to take care of the pet if I've left and they've had some kind of delay. I do require that. If they don't have somebody that is there that can come in and take care of the pet, if I've already left, then I usually won't leave for like at least 2 hours before. I need to know that they're actually on the plane or on their way back. Okay. But other than that, yeah, I don't want to be home when they get back. I want the homeowner to be able to, I don't want to be like, hi, how was your trip? All up in their face. No. So I'm not doing that. And I want them to be able to come home to their home and be able to relax and just, they've just enjoyed the vacation or wherever it was that they've gone. So I want to make sure that I am not in their space when they come back. So that's why it's important that I know when they are returning, like, at 5 in the afternoon or whatever time. So I can do my logistics in leaving and all that stuff in a good time frame. Okay, so yeah, I want to avoid the awkward overlaps or long hours of the pets being left alone. All right, so finally, the last one that I have today is previous sitter experiences. So this is my thing. When I interview a prospective person for a prospective sit, one of the questions that I will ask the homeowner is, what was a pro and a possible con of previous pet sits? What was something that your previous pet sitter had done that was really cool, that you just really appreciated? It could be, my thing is I make little like 2-minute exit videos when I'm leaving. So right before I leave, I go through and I do a little 2-minute video of, here's the condition of your home, here's the condition of your pet, here's the condition, like they've been fed. I give like a synopsis of the condition of the home and just say thank you, for allowing me to stay here and take care of their fur babies. I do this. There was one person that told me that somebody that had done a pet sit was very much into like, a creative, and that she created like ongoing like movies daily of the pets and everything. It was a whole production, and the homeowner was like, that was just too much. It was too much. I don't need to see my pet that much. But that was something that they were like, you don't need to send me a whole video. I just want maybe 2 pictures a day. On that, let me just say this. Make sure that during your interview process that you are asking if they want pictures daily, if they want, or like every other day. Ask them how often they want to receive updates, pictures of their fur babies, okay? Very important. I've had some people that have said, send me a picture, we're on vacation, you can send a picture once a week. I've had someone that said they wanted pictures like, 4 or 5 times a day, and I told them I wasn't doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm busy. I don't have time to just sit up there and just take pictures of your baby all day long. Just not doing it. But asking and getting that information. So when I'm asking for the previous experience, again, what was something that was really cool and something that was, not so cool, something that you were like, oh, wow, I did not appreciate that. I was told one time that, most pet sitters, or excuse me, homeowners will say, you're welcome to whatever's in the house, as far as food. And I appreciate that. And so I'll use a few things. But one person said, no, they went shopping because I guess they had the Costco membership and had a bunch of Costco, Sam's, Whole Food stuff, Sam's wholesale stuff. And clearly the person that was pet sitting went shopping at their home. Which, I was like, what? Yeah, they were like, yeah, we had like the Tide Pods or whatever, and we came back and like clearly they took like half of them with them when they left. That's a problem, right? So understanding what some of their previous pet sitter experiences and expectations were and how maybe it was set up for success, or it was like, oh man, it almost turned me off completely to having a pet sitter in my home. Understanding those past experiences is kind of let you understand if it's going to be a good fit for you and what the expectations are. So that's it. I hope that this information has been very helpful. And please do make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you're interested in getting on the mailing list, I don't send a lot of emails out, but I have some things that are coming up in the next few months, especially if you're looking to relocate or just coming to visit Spain soon, especially if you're a solo traveler. You want to get on that mailing list so you can know about the latest updates that I will be sharing soon. And thank you so much. Y'all take care. Bye.